it fixed.
All right. Tell me we're live.
Oh, we're live.
We're live.
We're live, and we're actually, you can hear us.
You can hear us?
Yes,
hello.
Thank God.
If you can hear us, give us a sign.
Give us one of those, hey, please.
Drop us a comment. We're very confused. Well, we've been talking to nobody for a while. That's why we have already started our cigars. We were trying to do this, but the gods that be and the gods that don't be were like, we're going to mess with you guys. And so we couldn't get our audio. It looked fantastic. So apparently it's a lot more work than it looks to set your shots in an outdoor setting. So many light considerations you have to worry about. So a lot of work went into not having sound for you guys. Just want you to know how hard.
So now we have sound.
Okay, so anyway, going through all the preliminary stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Drop a comment, like the video, share it, all that good stuff. And we're smoking God of Fires because we freaking love them. And it's kind of like a special stick. For John's birthday, I got him a box of God of Fire, a beautiful box. The print on the box is one of my favorites. We were talking about sticks that you consider a celebration stick. So what is your go-to when you are having a good time and it's something special? What in your mind is that right stick for the job? Let us know in the comments. We were talking about our different ones. Mine's the Davidoff Dominicana. John's is the Black and Mild. And
Mine is not the Black and Mild. Listen.
Well, they don't know because they couldn't hear you say it.
The 601 is probably my go-to. That's my daily driver.
That's right, 601. That's the zip code that you can't go around any schools.
I'm not allowed to go there.
There your code. My bad. So anyway, one thing I wanted to talk about was the UFC last night.
Please.
There was a great card in London. I don't know how much you guys follow cage fighting, but John and I have been fans for a long time, and one of our favorite things to do is kind of talk about the fights before and after. One thing I want to point out, so this was a card in London. It was an amazing night of finishes. I saw more people starched than I can remember in recent memory, just like decisive, clean shot knockouts where it's just like they're out before they hit the deck. It's just amazing. Who did you think were the real winners as far as like standing out from the card?
Come on, like you got to go with Meatball.
Meatball.
Nobody really knew who she was until they started. Like watching like UK fighters. You know what I mean? And she was a fan favorite for the local fighters. So that's why they put her on the card. And then she impressed. You know what I mean? So she went out there and just beat the crap out of her.
Boy, I would call her the buzzsaw, the way she fights. It was just like
she was like whack, whack, whack.
She was a maelstrom of little chubby body parts flying around, hitting that girl. And then with like a minute left to go in the fight, she hits her with a reverse elbow to the button, and adios muchacho. It was crazy.
It was ugly.
I want to give of course, we have to talk about Paddy, the Paddy.
Yeah.
How did you think this performance?
That was actually what you really have to talk about. And if you're going to talk about him, I'm just going to change back cameras. You really want to talk about him, you have to say, like, dude, that was the most awkward celebration dance.
He's got this mentality of like a 6-year-old.
I think he is 6 years old.
I think that's how like one of my sons would have danced at that age. But what I thought was the most impressive about his performance was there are all these questions you have, like for instance with Khamzat Chimaev. One of the questions we all have is how will he face adversity? Because he hasn't yet. He steamrolled everybody with such incredible dominance, both standing and wrestling and submissions, that we don't know how he would handle adversity. He's never been hit. I think the statistics show that he's been struck twice in his career. One of them was from a guy being choked out, and he just did it like that, and they called that a significant strike. So we don't know how he would handle getting cracked, getting his bell rung, getting put in a bad position, having to actually like overcome something. Well, we got to see that from Paddy in his second UFC fight. He got dinged, and he looked like he was not having a good time. He had to rethink, he had to regroup. The other guy, whatever his name was, Kazo or whatever, was really putting the pressure on him. But I thought that Patty did a great job of like working his fundamentals, regrouping, recovering the guard, and waiting for his opportunity. And then he was patient, got to his feet, and as soon as he got to his feet, a really breathtaking judo takedown. And then from there, it was just like as soon as he had the advantage, it was done. It was an over fight. But he had to deal with the other guy's best.
Yeah.
And we saw that he was able to handle it brilliantly. So I think I'm on the Patty wagon. You know, I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, I seriously think he's the next. I don't want to say that because it is kind of cliche because everyone's saying the next Conor McGregor, but not in the sense of he's a great.
But you did say it. You just said
I
it.
just did say it.
You didn't want to say it.
I didn't want to say
But
it
you
because
did. Because
it's
you
true,
frequently do things you don't want to do,
no, but it's true.
like marrying people.
But no, I'm being sincere. Like, think about it. He has a whole nation behind him.
Yeah.
He literally calls his shots. He'll tell you what round it's going to happen in. So, you know what I mean? He's playing all the same notes and he's backing it up. The people who he's fighting they're not chumps. You know what I mean? And just like McGregor, he is the same.
Yeah.
Like, lower tier, like Strike Force and Cage Warriors or whatever. He did all those.
Why are they lower tier? Just because they're not American?
No, because they're not on the caliber. It's like going to the NFL. I mean, you could play. You know what I mean? Like you could go to all the other places, but until you hit the creme de la creme, you know what I mean? You're not gonna.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You're not gonna prove who you are.
I definitely think that he's on the rise big time, and I'm very curious who they want to match him up against.
I tried to, dude. Hooker's a name, dude. I would have liked Dan Hooker to be the next guy, but Dan Hooker got his clock clean last night.
Boy, that was that as my friend Kelly would say, that hurt me emotionally to watch him get drummed like that because he looked like a kid that was messing with an adult. Like, you know what I mean? He looked out of place. He didn't look like himself. He looked like
he had one good shot and the guy was like, that's it. And then you go, whack. He got.
There's something about a fighter that gets brutalized in the ring. It's always a struggle to see him return to his former glory days because there's that, in your mind that you didn't just lose, but like you got hurt. And you all know that you can't suffer and endure too many of those types of beatings without having some serious longevity ramifications. And so that stays in your mind of like, I only have so many places to punch my card. Now I've got one of them punched. I don't know how many more I can punch before like I'm in Gary Goodrich territory. And I don't think he's fought the same since then.
I've actually watched it happen to a hero of mine. Roy Jones Jr. was never really touched. He wasn't. Then when he got touched, he was never the same.
When Tarver knocked him out?
Yeah, when Tarver knocked him out, he was not the same.
Yeah.
He just wasn't. Even Bernard said it.
With a lot of
fighters.
They just get changed. And so I hate to think that he might be done, but he's not even making these fights close. He hasn't made out of the first round in 3 fights.
Yeah.
So
he's done. He's another Greg Hardy. They're going to just cancel him.
Probably not looking so good. But Arnold Allen looked fantastic. That was a real good performance. But I thought that probably the biggest stunner was Tom Aspinall in the main event because I thought that was going to be a hard fight, and it was not.
No, he made it look easy. Not only did he make it look easy, but the big Russian just didn't show up. I mean, even a little bit. Like, I think his contract's going to be canceled too.
Well, it's always hard to get rid of a top 10 fighter, but he's clearly shown what his ceiling is in the division, and it's the top 5 mark. I don't think he's ever going to break top 5.
Well, I mean, heavyweights. Who do you really have at heavyweight that's like, oh my god, they're so amazing?
An active fighter in the heavyweight division, and he's been fighting in the UFC for 20 years.
Now take it down
20 years.
That's what I'm saying. Now take it down to 155.
No way.
No, everyone's there.
Like
everyone's
Dominic
it's a killer.
Has been in the UFC for maybe half that time, maybe even less than that, and it's like he's at the end, and he's really struggling. Like his last in December, he got hurt, and he had to overcome that to
But
win
he
that
fights
fight.
like this.
So I think it's
He's like
amazing.
a rock'em sock'em
that
dude. That's
Arlovsky's still fighting.
yeah, it's bad.
But overall, it was great. Oh, we're at our first third mark. So give me your third marks, your notes.
So one of the reasons why I like this cigar so much is because it's got a cocoa-y hay. It's just like creamy. It's like everything I love about a cigar, and it's stout. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm smoking the same cigar.
No, I'm talking. I should be talking to the audience that if like you want a symphony, this is a symphony, and it keeps going, and then it gets better. You know what I mean? In this middle part, oh my god, this is when it opens up. It's when like you're halfway through your marathon and your stride starts opening up, and your chest bows out, and you're like, my boobs aren't bleeding yet.
You get that runner's high.
Yeah, you're like, that's right, I'm here, and I'm here to stay, and it's killing it.
So what I would say, let me go ahead and recharge the old palate. Okay. Unbelievable cherry cocoa flavor. And the oils, like, it's just such intense oils. And it's got kind of a graham cracker cookie finish, but it's very toasty. And it's just normally a cigar this intense would have some acrid notes to it or a little bit of a bitterness to the finish. This has none of that. It's just amazing. Like a chocolate creme brulee that's been torched really, really good on top. You know what I'm saying?
Dude,
so I think that's what I'm getting.
You're way better at articulating than I am. I'm telling you, I think that they have to do something crazy with the oils for it to be this stout, and then also have all that, like the oils have to be making up to a lot of those flavor notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What's amazing is that as good as this cigar is, it's still not respected on the same lines as Opus.
That's crazy.
And that's crazy.
Insane.
So you guys at home, tell us in the comments where you fall on this little schism in the Fuente family. Are you team Opus or are you team Prometheus? Because I want to know. I like starting shit. Maybe we can get some Hatfield and McCoy action, some something like that. I'm a collector of both. I collect the entirety of the God of Fire lineup: the Carlito, the Don Carlos, the Aniversario, the God of the Serie B, and I love them all. I think that the Carlito tastes like a mix between a nice Opus and a Don Carlos Aniversario, which is an amazing cigar. So but I don't think Opus has anything that rivals the Series B in terms of robust flavor. I think that Opus has some good cardamom, baking spice, clove notes, but they typically don't get as vibrant as a Series B. So even though I have a bigger Opus collection, because there's just so many more Opus Vitolas, that if I'm going to pick one, I'd probably rather smoke this or God of Fire Aniversario over an Opus. But let us know in the comments, and we'll tell you why you're wrong.
And we know in the comments how bad John just felt about his ash falling.
Yes.
Oh, did you see his countenance fell harder than his ash when it dropped?
I was like, oh.
He was like that kid who just got his ice cream with 3 scoops, and he goes to lick it, and he knocks the ice cream off the cone.
I literally was like this, like I'm holding it like you're supposed to, and I'm just like, and then all of a sudden it just fell. I was like, you son of a bitch.
My baby
fell and left me. Okay, I'm sorry. Look, I rarely get to like sit down other than on our Sundays when we get to. We normally have a guest, and we're trying to keep it about them. I have to ask you this. I got to. I love.
Oh Lord,
picking into your brain.
Oh Lord.
Please explain to me, and I hope our video doesn't get taken down. Please explain to me how Hunter Biden can get out of the situation he's in with the audio being leaked. How's that possible?
Well, from a formal perspective, the DOJ investigate, and then they'd have to put together a bill of information and try to get a federal indictment against him. But the thing about these crimes is that they're all subject to selective enforcement. Just like you can witness a crime and go to the local police department and try to make a report, they can just tell you to go pound sand. They don't have to take the report. They don't have to investigate. They don't have to prosecute. They don't have to do any of that stuff. And so when you're dealing with crimes of a overly political nature, well, now it changes the game completely because there's all these agendas at work. You know, if you look at the Russiagate scandal, you had a not a conspiracy, but you had a collection, a cabal of people of a singular set of attitudes, so that they all wanted the same thing, which meant they all felt the same way about cutting the corners to get to that thing. So it's not like they had a meeting where they said, okay, we're going to make up this story and we're going to try to keep Trump out of the White House. No, it was just that they really believed all these things. And so it made it that much easier for them to look at the evidence a certain way. And so that's why they didn't see a problem with falsifying the FISA warrants, why they didn't see a problem with failing to disclose the sources behind the dossier. You know, all of those things, the ends justify the means to them. And so they didn't look at, whereas you have the Hillary email scandal, and they look at that a different way because they weren't inclined to see it the same way. And so they were very, very easy on her, and they didn't do that. So when it comes to the Hunter Biden thing, you know, actually I wanted to talk about the Biden laptop today, but going back to the way the media handled it, you know, right when the Hunter Biden scandal first made light, the New York Post led with a story about the laptop left at the Delaware tech shop. Yep. Well, before any of the details really made surface, you had the official position of the deep state that this has all the trappings of Russian disinformation. Okay, well, what does that even mean? All the trappings of Russian disinformation. All that really means is that it is consistent with the type of thing that would come out in Russian disinformation. Well, that's meaningless because every piece of Russian disinformation is assumed to be contrary to the interests of the American government. So that means that any piece of it's a non-response. So the fact that everybody said that tells you where their attitudes were towards about that material. They're not going to take it like they would if they were just a dispassionate third-party fact finder looking at all this evidence, trying to draw the most reasonable conclusions. They're not doing that. They're trying to find the conclusions that they want. And so that means they're going to not follow up on leads and try to downplay everything. But I think that what's going to happen now that they've not been able to deny it any longer, I think there will be an investigation, and there very well may be something that leads into 2024 because Biden is not going to be seeking a second term. So what I'm guessing is going to happen is that they're going to throw him under the bus because they're going to try to redeem the name of the Democrats. And so they can't use Kamala. She's just absolutely ruined her shot with her vice president performance. So there's no telling who it's going to be. There's a lot of talk. It's going to be Hillary again. So they may try to do one of those burn Biden at the stake. As
but this burns her just as much as it burns Biden.
Right. Well, let me tell you this, John. You know, there are still people to this day that believe that Kyle Rittenhouse did not have any communal ties to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and went there for the sole purpose of killing black people. They still believe that, even though the trial happened and all the evidence came to light, and there's absolutely no way to justify such a belief based on the evidence. They still believe it. Why? Because they look at what they want to see. They look to affirm what they want to believe. And so they can just ignore mountains of evidence in favor of their narrative. Well, if they can do that there, you don't think they can do that with Hillary Clinton? You don't think that the deep state can just say, we're going to spin this whole thing and make it about the Biden family and hang him and make an example out of him, and then Hillary's just going to skirt in the back door looking squeaky clean? Yeah,
but why are there so many people that do that? Why? I mean, I understand that you're going to have the brainwash people. I get that. But there's so many that are so far gone that even when you present facts to them, they don't want to hear. And then it's like a mob mentality just takes over because they're like, yeah, we all agree. We just don't like them. So we're just going to push them out.
That's everybody, though. You're framing this like you have most people are the good, reasonable people, and then you have this fringe minority of people who are just wackadoo Jonestown Kool-Aid drinkers. How do you deal with them? And that's not a proper framing of humanity. The proper framing of humanity is everybody drinks their own Kool-Aid. Everybody does. We just tend to agree with the people who drink the same Kool-Aid as us, so they look normal. But we all are drinking our Kool-Aid.
No, I agree with a majority portion of that, but I also have to say, like, it's like people that are fleeing California because they're like, they're crazy over there. And then they move to like Austin, Texas, and they start voting on the same stuff that they try to get away from. And you're like, why are you doing that? That
Do you
doesn't make
think-
sense.
Oh, do you think
You're
that they
His man's down.
man down?
Man down.
Oh, I dropped his ash.
Dude, why don't you guys pick up those classes and then just tell people about the best crawfish you've had this season?
Well-
Best crawfish. I haven't had crawfish in a while, so
Everybody's
What?
got enough news.
Are you
I
serious?
don't eat crawfish that much.
Are you serious? You didn't have any crawfish this season?
No,
Okay, well, I know what we're doing after the show. I'm going to buy at least
no.
20,
Oh
10,
my God.
10. Well, no, with your sons, we need 20. What are you talking about? You don't like crawfish?
Sure, I like crawfish. It's
Like,
like
an etouffee, or do you
look
like
this,
the,
like I like rice, but I'd never be like, hey guys, when you come to the house, I'm boiling some rice.
your chicken is on the same caliber of crawfish?
Yeah, you just eat thousands of them, and they're supposed to go with other stuff.
Oh yeah, of course. You got to get sausage, potatoes, and corn. You get all those things in there. You got to take the accompaniment
I
to the.
get it. I get it. I just, you know, I don't enjoy it.
You know what's super scary though, and I just wanted you to see this
What's that?
in real time as we are having the conversation about Biden's computer. DC starts calling.
What? That's crazy.
They're like, "We're going to shut down your show if you don't shut up."
All right, Lindsay says video quality and sound are bad.
What are you talking about?
Is it bad?
It doesn't look bad. That's the first thing you said about it.
All right, let me see.
Video quality. What are we? Are we out of focus, Lindsay?
No, it looks.
It looks good to me. I'm looking at us. I'm looking at us on the computer.
So Lindsay votes Team Prometheus. Of course she does.
Of course, you're going to
She
stick
knows
with the
what's up.
stick.
But she says, I think Opus does a really great job of creating scarcity, which makes them more popular. And that's a good point. That is a good point. I want to talk about that. So when you look at branding, okay, and the stuff that really resonates with a buyer, you have to create this accelerated sense of need. And the way you do that is with rarity or scarcity. So if you have stuff that is limited release, then you can market it in a different way and create a buzz about it. And Opus, they do that all the time. They are always having these limited releases, and that limited creates like a feeding frenzy of collectors. And so whenever a box comes in of rare Opus stuff, you got all the collectors that they want a piece of it. Whereas with God of Fire, they don't do that. They have their stock lanes, they have the lines that they put out, and that's it. And so it's like, you want a God of Fire, you just go get one. There's never like, oh, well, this season has a limited release, and so we have to hurry up and go get it. They don't do that. And so I do think that people look at Prometheus not quite the same way as Opus because of that fact. So I think it's a very, very good point. I agree with you on that.
I don't know. I'd have to say that, like you said earlier, I don't see one person's point of view that says Prometheus and Opus couldn't jive. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think anything they have rivals this.
No, I mean they don't, and obviously I like them both. I'm not saying you have to just smoke one or the other, but we're a hierarchical thinker, and so everybody always puts things in a tiered system. So I was just curious, what people are doing.
Or you can get to that. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone's gonna have their own palates. So I mean, you just gotta go like, okay, well, I kind of agree with this guy every time that he puts out a stick and says, hey, try this, try that, try this.
On the spot, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and you guys at home, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So what I want you to do is tell me your favorite region of tobacco production, and then
You're not gonna like it. You're gonna get mad.
then the brand that you think best represents that region. So I want you to do that in the comments. Go.
Okay, Nicaraguan over Colombian,
You mean Cuban?
Cuban. That's what I meant. You know what I meant. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I think the leaves are better. I think the blends are better.
Okay.
I think you can go more Nicaraguan than Cuban, and I believe that you'll have more sticks that you're like, oh, I like these, than you would if you went to the Cubans. And I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to strike like everyone's going, oh, you don't know what he's talking about, because I've had both. And
Okay.
as much as I go, like, I love Cuban cigars because they're good. Don't get me wrong. It's not that they're not good. It's that I enjoy like the symphony over the notes that just are powerful. You know what I mean?
All right. All right. So what would you say is the brand that does Nicaraguan the best?
They're all roughly like hitting the same mark. It's all how they age them, how, you know, like oils and stuff like that. Like, it's what plays a factor for me. And if I had to, like, it depends. Do you want to go high or do you want to go low on the tone? I like my 601s.
The 601 by Espinosa.
Sorry,
That's your
daily driver. If I'm, that's where I'm hanging.
I want to know who you think does Nicaraguan tobacco the best. Like,
The best.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, everyone
it's Padron, by the way. It's Padron.
Yeah,
Just, I was wondering if he'd get it's Padron.
yeah. But I'm saying, yeah. Sorry.
No, I want to know if you guys agree. I think that I understand the people who hold Nicaraguan tobacco over Cuban. I do. I think that there is some absolutely amazing stuff coming out, and I think Padron makes great competitors with Cuban cigars. I think that the Family Reserve line of Padron is, I mean, that was my number 2 cigar of the year. It's absolutely mind-blowingly complex. It's rich. It's subtle, though. It's nuanced. It's got the high notes. It's got the low notes. It's got an amazing mouthfeel. It's got so much oil you need to spit afterwards. It's just so intense. So I think that, you know, I'm not going to fault anybody for thinking that hits a level that Cubans don't hit. I think that it's kind of they're trying to do different things. And so it's like comparing, you know, a really good electronic industrial act with Vivaldi. You know, they're so incompatible. I can't compare them. So it's personal preference. So I get that. What about Dominican? What would you say the best on average, the guys who do Dominican the best?
No, that's hard because I've only had like 4 or 5 different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, man, you put me on the spot, dick.
Yep.
That's kind of hard.
Tell us at home if you have a favorite Dominican manufacturer, who it be?
Wow.
Come on, you got to name somebody, man. You got to take somebody.
I know, but I don't want to say the wrong one. Then someone go like, "Oh, and that's not what you said when we were smoking them." You know, give me a second. I'll let you. Can you go first, and then I'll go second?
Oh, for crying out loud, John! You got to make me just take the leap first. Okay, all right.
Oh, let's be honest, dude. Who smokes more cigars from crazy places? You do.
Well, okay.
And when I do, it's normally in your shadow. Let's just be honest.
All right. Oh, then it's fine now. Okay, great. All right. So for Dominican, I would say that it's either Zeno Davidoff or Fuente, because Fuente makes Opus and Prometheus, and those are Dominican tobaccos. Aniversario is Dominican, and they are transcendent. Okay, but then you have, but all of those, they all taste like they're made by the same people. They've got too much overlap in the flavor profiles. It's almost like you can just close your eyes and take a puff and be like, yeah, that's got that super polished Fuente flavor. You know, I smoked a Fuente unnamed reserve yesterday morning, and it had kind of like an embryonic fledgling taste of an Aniversario. It wasn't as intense. It wasn't as turned up, but I could tell like that's where it would go if it was an optimized flavor. But Davidoff, they're able to do something totally different. It's like 2 chefs that have the same ingredients, and they make two different dishes that are like one's amazingly delicate and sweet, and the other one is super savory. How do they do it? I don't know. But Davidoff tobacco is like this very fine aromatic tobacco that's got these high perfumey kind of flavor qualities. But then there's also that creamy caramel. It's just, what the hell? I don't know how they do it. It's absolutely
Okay,
standard.
so who are the rollers? Who are the people that say these are the blends we're putting together for this run?
Well, the guy who was doing all the Davidoff stuff for their high-end stuff, he quit. I forget his name, but he stopped this year. And so there was a lot of talk like what's going to happen to the Royal line, because you had that same guy was overseeing the production of the Oro series and the Royals and the Master Blends and all that stuff. And now he's gone. So I don't know. But if you pose the question to me about the region that's the best, I have grown a lot in my palate and what I appreciate out of different regions that are different, that it still maintains the title of just like the best region, because I've had the new Partagas Legato. It had this amazingly dessert quality of like intense chocolate, semi-sweet with like a pastry finish. Like just, I would never guess like tobacco could taste like that. You know, all these other really good sticks, you smoke them, you're like, oh yeah, that smells like a plant burning. But when you smoke a really good Cuban cigar, it's just like, is this a plant or is this like some young living woo shit where I'm like breathing diffuser and I'm like, man, I'm smelling fresh baked cinnamon rolls. You know, what's going on? It's like so I just think that it's like magic what Cuban cigars do. So that's where I gotta say, are we getting any answers? Nope.
It's
No.
fine now.
Nobody answered our question. That's fine. It's fine.
So I mean, yeah, but there's nothing you couldn't find in a Nicaraguan that doesn't do the same exact stuff.
I don't think I don't think it's fair to say Nicaraguan tobacco can like do the same thing as Cuban. They're too different. And I think
Explain.
just the profiles of the flavor, you know, with how there is an intensity to Nicaraguan tobacco, whether you're smoking a My Father or an aging room, where it's just like it's turned up. It's a lot. It's more aggressive. Like I would never
So
say
why
Cuban
would you
cigars
say
aggressive.
that more Nicaraguans are sold over Cuban cigars?
Well, it's a couple of reasons. One, the biggest reason is the embargo. You know, if the American market's like the number 2 market in the world, and Cuban cigars aren't even allowed to access it. So it's not even in the consideration, you know. But if you go to Canada, people smoke Cubans a lot up there because you can just go to your local brick and mortar and get some. You know, you might not have access to the best, but you'll at least get some of the lower lines, so you can get that stuff.
Why do you think that they're not?
But the other part of so I said it was a 2-prong answer. The other prong is that it's contingent on the embargo, but because of the embargo, the counterfeit industry is so big.
That's exactly what I was just going to ask you.
Roughly 10 times the size of the authentic Cuban market.
And where are they getting their tobacco from?
Is they're getting it from Miami. and so you can get a lot of stuff that is Nicaraguan, Dominican, Costa Rican that's passing itself off as Cuban, but it ain't. And so what ends up happening is you get people in America who want Cuban cigars, so they go and buy them from these gray market dealers, and they get these suspect ones that aren't real. Well, they compare those with the high-end Nicaraguan stuff, and they're like, oh, Nicaraguan stuff's better. I'm like, absolutely it is. But you're not smoking real Cubans, and
But
so
where
you
are
don't
they
know.
getting the tobacco from?
I said already. They're getting it from
Miami.
Miami.
But where's Miami getting it from? They're not growing in Miami.
There's a lot of growing in Miami.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I did not know. You just turned me on to something. I did not know that.
I'm pretty sure that Miami grows a lot.
I'm going to have to Google it.
I want to go to Miami.
Let's go. I'll have to make a phone call to one of my friends, and we could go to South Beach.
All right, I'm now almost out of my middle third, and it's tasting like a toasted marshmallow.
Yes, that's exactly. I was just going to say that. I was going to steal your line, but that's exactly what it tastes like.
So it's so good. It's got that campfire s'moresy quality to it. It's got the chocolate. This
is the part of the cigar I enjoy. That's why I need to keep it away from me, because I'm like, I want another one. I want another.
All right, so now
taste of it.
I'm going to ask you the Oh, okay, Lindsay says
Oh,
that
we
she
got some.
prefers Nicaraguan sticks for their variation. It keeps my ADHD brain guessing, and it really helps develop my palate.
Thank you, Lindsay.
That is true, because Nicaraguan sticks are not always puros, which means they can use binders and fillers from other regions and create this wide diversity of flavors, whereas Cuban cigars are puros. It's always Cuban filler, Cuban binder, Cuban wrapper. So the amount of variation, not going to happen. You know, you talk to Andre about it, and he'll tell you one of the first things he told me about Cuban cigars is all Cuban cigars taste the same and just a little bit different. And that's true. They are so largely the same because there's only so much diversity on the island for tobacco. And so what is different is mostly fringe elements, whereas the majority of things are the same.
But I'm with Lindsay on this one. When I go there, you don't want to keep having the same whiskey over and over. You want to kind of spread out and see what everyone's got to.
Like progressives say, diversity is our strength. So I like to have a lot of different ones. But I want to put you on this. I want to share. This is the hardest question.
I don't care. I got
that I'll have for you today. So when it comes to the Series B, is it
with retro?
Is
I like it.
Is it bussin' or is it bussin' respectfully?
Bussin' respectfully.
Okay. All right. So there you have it, everybody. I was not sure where John would put it on the bussin' scale, but that's where it'd be. All right.
Yes.
That was awesome.
It was easy. That was the
easy.
hardest question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would not have known how to answer that question. I just been like, I don't know. But there you go.
I got one more question
See,
for you.
she says Padron, followed closely by my father. That's right. She's so on point. She knows what she's talking about.
Dude, she gets to hang out with you all the time. Like that's the wifey. She gets to do the everything she gets, and she's like, no, I'll take two of them because screw him.
Right.
And she does. She's like, she'll take you and she'll be like, hey, what are you smoking? Oh, I'm gonna try that. Give me two of those. And then she's gonna save it for later in case it's like on point.
Dude, I tell you, I buy cigars like I'm Noah. Two of every kind, baby.
You got to.
I have to. We went to the Davidoff store in Houston like 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to get another Lord Byron. Lord Byrons are really, really rare. I'd only ever seen them at that particular store, and I looked them up, and they're very highly acclaimed. They have great reviews, great quality. They're also kind of expensive, but I wanted to get a second one.
Whoa. For you to say something's kind of expensive, I got to know what the price point was.
$35 a stick.
Yeah, that's kind of expensive.
It's kind of expensive.
Like, especially when you're smoking, like, I'm gonna do that in the morning.
Well,
like, tomorrow morning.
I try not to.
That's $70 you just blew. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but that's the price of a pallet. It's like I don't even like smoking cheap sticks anymore. Like there's only a couple that'll really get me excited. But for the most part, like I don't know, man. I like a $20 or more stick. It's kind of where my palate be. But anyway, we were at Houston, and there were two Lord Byrons there, and there was only one price tag. And I wasn't sure which one was the price. The price tag was like $33. So I was like, cool. Well, so I grabbed the one that I think I already have because I wanted two of them. Because if I only have one, I'm going to be too afraid to smoke it. But if I have two, I can smoke one, write a review of it, and then still save one. So I get the one I already have. I go, and it's a different guy working there. And he's like staring at it. It doesn't have a code on it or anything. So he just looks like he doesn't know. I was like, dude, did you used to work at Walmart? Like, how do you not know how to do this job? So he ends up going in the back and picking out the box. And it's not the box that this Lord Byron is, the other Lord Byron. And he looks at it and then he types it in and then it brings up $118. And I was like, hey, I'm a Newton Bitter. I was like, I don't think that's right. And I was hoping that wasn't right. I was like, that ain't right. And so he was like, huh? I was like, yeah, I think it was like 35. And he was like, and he changed it to the other price. But I was like, so anyway, so I get the second one. I'm all proud of myself. And then Lindsay's like, oh, you have two. We can smoke them together. I was like, that's exactly right. So that's what happens, man. You train your partner in crime, and now it's like,
yeah. And then they're either going to go broke with you.
My budget is doubled effectively. What are you gonna do? Oh, she says she likes Fuente and Prometheus more from Dominican. All right. So now going to the Cuba region, because those are like the big three. Obviously, Costa Rica has some, whether it's Septimo or El Rojo. Then you've got Honduran. You've got, of course, the Connecticut valleys up there on the East Coast. I think most people would probably say Drew Estate does best up there. But as far
That's
as
my cousin's favorite.
as
the
far
Drew
as
Straits.
John's,
Yep.
I do not like Drew Estate that much anymore. I did like them a lot, but I've had pretty much everything up their lines, and I just find their stuff a bit boring, a bit pedestrian. I think that the best thing they make is like some of those ligas, the Rat series. Those were quite good, but I think that the like the number 9 and the 252, they're good, but like I wouldn't put them with this as far as like their ability to wow. But they are almost the same price as this. I mean, a good number 9 will run you $20, and this is like 25. So
I never really got your opinion on what you thought the didn't I get you one? And I don't know if you were aging it or you were just or we smoked it. I can't remember, dude. I can't remember. We do so much crap. The Rothschild one. Did you like that?
The Rothschild?
Yeah. You don't remember? I was like, look what I found. You don't remember us smoking those? Or maybe we didn't. Maybe I just gave it to you and you took it and you were like, blah, blah.
Rothschild, I don't know what that is. Is it?
I don't remember. We found it like one of those little things in Austin. Remember that?
Rothschild doesn't ring a bell. I don't know, man.
It was remember you were like, oh yeah, I heard about you said something like, I heard about those. I heard they're not good. And I was like, well, we got to smoke it. You were like, okay. You don't remember that? It wasn't that long ago.
I'm thoroughly embarrassed. I'm going to lose my Spurg license. I can't remember something. But no, I don't remember Rothschild. What does it look like?
It had a really fancy, like the band was super fancy. And you were like, yeah, I heard the run was like mediocre. And everyone
was it really expensive?
Yes, it was expensive. And I was like, well, I'm going to get them for us. So we're going to smoke them. And then I don't remember if we ever did.
All right, I'm going to look it up. Rothschild cigar. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it was like one of those you're like, oh, they just took the name and ran with it. It was like it was supposed to pair well with their whiskey or some crap. You don't remember that?
There's the Macanudo Rothschild.
We smoked it. You were like, yes.
Lucien Rothschild. Oh, dude, there's a lot of Rothschilds. So that's Fuente makes a Rothschild. Monte Cristo makes a Rothschild. I don't know.
You don't remember?
I don't know. She said that the feed is still pretty choppy. Chopping broccoli.
Choppy. We're on the best internet we can have, girl. I don't understand.
I don't know. Okay, one thing I wanted to ask you about, changing gears a little bit.
Good.
So, what do you think about the Thomas story?
The Leah Thomas.
That's the college swimmer who changed genders and competes with the women and is now number 1 in the country.
Okay, well, I don't know much about it, so I don't. I mean, I know that there's a story out there, but I didn't like zero in and be like, oh my god. But I'm going to take the Rogan approach. It's wrong.
All right, let me tell you the story.
Okay, go.
Because I've been following it. So this guy, William Thomas, was
William Thomas.
That was good. I guess I'm dead naming him. My bad, but I'm just trying to tell you the story. So obviously, he was a dude and was in college swimming as a man, and then one day the headlines broke that he was announcing he was transsexual and would be competing on the women's team. And the school was like, sounds good to us. So they put him on the women's team, and he did not undergo any surgeries. You know, he still looks just like a dude. He has all his anatomy. He does not appear to be on any kind of hormones. He does not have breast tissue. He grew his hair longer. Okay. He grew his hair longer.
Okay. So that right there tells you that everything is, it's not only propaganda, but it's clickbait stuff. It's stuff to make a headline so it brings more attention to the sports. That sport. That's all it is.
Maybe so. But he's like smashing all the records for women. He was ranked like 462nd as a man. He's ranked number 1 as a woman. And the girls on his team are all comment anonymously saying how they hate it, but the coach, he just wants to win. So he's not fighting it or anything, but there's a big outrage right now because people are looking at like women's sports are under attack because now they're having to compete with biological males and they can't do it. But there's still people, experts, okay, who argue that the claim
But
that
don't you think
biological men have advantages or that's a false claim. Like, are you serious?
But that pushes so many things that I want to say. Like, I want to be like, okay, so you wanted equality, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to say that, but that's wrong. You should. Then I want to say, like, I want to bring up Johnny Knoxville in his movie, The Ringer. Come on. Like, it's not like it doesn't say like the truth. It's like, this is why you have rules put in place and why you have to look at this as saying that someone who's special needs and someone who's just a dum-dum. You know what I mean? And you can't put them in the same tiers.
This is not the first high profile story along these lines to come out. There have been a number of them in the wrestling world where boys have transitioned to compete with the girls and they dominate them. Well, the first story that I remember where it was just farcical how it came out was in New Zealand, I want to say it was, where it was a professional handball team. Well, there was a guy who was like 6'4", 240 pounds. He was a rugby player. He declared he's a woman, and he started competing handball with these girls. And from the videos, it's every bit as comical and ridiculous as you would think it is, because it's this huge guy, like Godzilla, swatting girl airplanes out of the sky as he goes down the courts to score. And they eventually banned him from competition, and they were like, "You're so transphobic." Like, okay, really? But that was the first one. Like, this is ridiculous. And this Leah Thomas story. It's looking every bit as ridiculous because they just had the national championships, and the two girls that he beat for first place, they were like Olympic silver medalists. They were some of the best in the world, and he was just like smoked them. And I think that we can learn a lot about shipbuilding from this story because obviously,
say that again. Did you say shipbuilding?
Shipbuilding.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
you said ship.
Because obviously, if you want your ship to go fastest, it needs a big rudder.
I knew there was a joke in there, dude. Oh my god, for that joke. Okay,
I'm sorry.
So I got you. That was a long-winded setup joke, which I like. I don't think the audience is gonna like it. But no, seriously, let's just be honest. It's competition because they're two different things. Like there's great people like Amanda Nunes who literally train with guys, and she's unreal. Like, I'd put her up against like McGregor. I think she'd knock him out. Not the same. I just think she would. And then serving in the military, I've been with some girls who were like, dude, man, you could do it. Like, I'm all about it. But there are so many differences when it comes to when you get to that level. You might have a diamond in the rough, but it's not, you can't take the full spectrum of everything. Like they talk about like professional tennis. You take, I don't care, the bottom 95 and put them up against the top 3% in women's tennis. They wouldn't have a chance. The serves, you couldn't even come close.
I think it was Venus Williams who said that if she were a man, her game would be ranked around like the 500s or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's. But what's interesting?
Try to hit a serve off of I don't care, anyone low tier on the totem pole in tennis. You try to hit their serves, you're not gonna do it. It's too powerful. You're not gonna be able. The power, the spin. It's because they create more of
just
top
the
spin.
Serve speed.
Serve speed
way
alone
faster.
Is 10 times more faster.
Well, it's not 10 times faster. That would be like.
Well, you know what I mean.
Over 1,000 miles an hour.
Facetious, but I'm just saying, like it's true.
Yeah. Well, I read some tweets by this progressive doctor who actually was arguing the point that the reason for the segregation of men and women's athletics is to protect men. She actually tried to argue that, unironically, saying that she listed a couple of obscure examples like figure skating and target shooting or something, where apparently the rules used to be that it was co-ed play, and a woman would win, and then they would change the rules to do segregation. And she concluded that that must mean that men and women can't compete against each other because women would dominate us. So we had to segregate to protect men. Like, wow. You know, your worldview is run amok when that kind of nonsense is what it forces you to believe, because it's like, are you serious?
Yeah, but I mean, there's so many things that women can do that men can't do. I mean, come on, it's not even I wouldn't even try to partake in half the things that they could do that we can't do.
Well, but that just goes to show, like, it's not about one being better than the other. They're just different.
It's different,
and
it's like, why would you not want diversity? Why wouldn't you want a bunch of people that are just like, man, I love eating Cuban food, and I love eating Mexican food, or I love eating soul food, or I love having pizza. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want diversity, you want a full spectrum. So when you go out, you have whatever you want that night and what you're really in the mood for. Instead of saying, like, nope, they all have to be the same, or we can't get along. I think that's just ridiculous. I think it's stupid.
Yeah,
just like cigars.
For sure. Okay. Tell me this: have you ever played a like formal sport against a woman?
Yeah, of course.
What sports were those?
Softball.
And did you find that they played as well as the men?
100%. They could pitch better than we could.
Really?
Yeah. If it was fast pitch, yeah, 100%.
Interesting.
The fastest fastball ever was by a woman underhand. Smokes dudes.
Really?
Yeah. They're 100% better at it than we are. And when it comes to, depending on like what the rules are, because most men would just knock it out of the park, but they say like after it'll have one of those per how many innings or whatever. But if it had to stay in the park, dude, the girls kept up with us easy.
So if men's ability to hit it out of the park was taken out of the equation, then men and women basically were the same. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
But I know that there's that thing, but that men can grow bigger than women. It's like,
well, that has to be taken into consideration. You can't just ignore the physical differentiation and then say, oh, well, apart from that, they're the same. Well, then apart from everything meaningful that makes us different, we're the same. That's
it all depends on what league you're in, because if you're in a fast pitch, the women are just going to crush you with the speed, and you're just going to be able to like not be able to hit. It all depends. Like that's you know what I mean. Or if you're in soft pitch, you know what I mean, where they underhand it has to hit the back part of the plate. If it does, it's still a strike. Yeah, dude. Guys would crush it out every time. It's like literally lobbing the ball to a guy who's just going to go, you know. But also,
guys don't make that sound when they hit, John. I don't know.
Also, depending on the weight, like if you go higher up in weight, of course, it's going to make a huge difference. But wrestling, like Greco-Roman, stuff like that. Like when we were younger, I know girls who could keep up with the guys. Jiu-jitsu, same thing.
That was a difficult removal.
Like if you just take jiu-jitsu rules where you have to work with the gi. I understand guys can do things, but girls are more flexible.
Did you know what the favorite car manufacturer of karate practitioners is?
Kia. I didn't think about it for a second.
Very good, Grasshopper. You have done well. So, are you're nubbing out?
Dude, I am almost to the McNubbin, but I will never let this thing go without me like literally burning my fingers.
My goodness.
So, I mean, what's your take on that? Be honest, 100% honest.
Take on what exactly?
I'm talking about like gender. It doesn't matter. Like if it's a sport, if they could compete at your level, would you allow it?
You know, if they could compete at the same level, would I allow it? Well, the old me would have said absolutely, because it's all based on output. And if the output is the same, then they should be allowed to compete the same. Where the new values I have make it a little bit harder for me to answer that question is that I believe that society operates best when it appreciates formality. Okay. And what I mean by that is when you look back on the way our society was 100 years ago, the way people dressed just to go out of the house, you know, compare that with how they dress now. how we spoke back then, how we conducted ourselves then versus how we conduct ourselves now. There was this appreciation for formality, this idea that the things we do as a people, the way we do them matters. We have to appreciate form, we appreciate tradition, because those things kind of define us as a collective. I get that. Okay. Well, one of the formalities that our society really addresses, there's a couple of them. One is the formality between child and adult. You know, we have the age of majority for a reason, because we need to be able to formally say society now recognizes you as an adult. You know, whether it's the Jewish bar mitzvah or any other coming of age ritual, all these cultures still have a ritual. You know, for us, it's going to the strip. That's when you start doing that, you're like, I'm an adult now. Well,
Like
you know, my
quinceañeras.
kids, they're very precocious. They're very talented. And so, like, obviously they want to do things they see mom and dad do. So they want to talk like an adult. You know, they want to ask questions like an adult. They want to try cigars like an adult. They want to try whiskey like an adult, all this stuff. And I have to, you know, I didn't want to be like my parents and just tell them a bunch of bullshit about how it's like, no, if you touch this liquor while you're under 21, you die. You know, I didn't want to do like what my mom did for us and just brainwash us. I just told my kids, like, look, you have to understand that there are things that are appropriate for children and there are things that are not appropriate, because the distinction between child and adult is a meaningful one, and we respect that. And so as long as you are a child, things that are not appropriate for a child, you're going to have to wait, because there's a responsibility that goes along with enjoying it that you aren't ready to handle. And so I have to make that judgment call of when you're ready to handle it before I will bestow it upon you. And so you just have to be okay with that. And you know what? They were like, we understand that. That makes sense. You know, and so we talk a lot about those types of things, but they understand that distinction. Well, another distinction is that we appreciate that if it was a 17-year-old high school senior who slept with a gym teacher, his attitude would be like, go ahead, stud, you know. But if it was a 17-year-old girl who slept with a gym teacher, he'd go kill that guy, you know. And the reason why this is because we look at boys and girls differently. We have different sets of duties with respect to each of them. And so we don't just treat them as fungible carbon copies of each other. And so in all the ways that our society appreciates those differences, the fact that, you know, traditionally we had single gender bathrooms. We had men's room and we had women's room. Was it because in the 50s, dudes didn't know how to take a piss without getting it everywhere? I don't believe that's the case. I believe we just respected and appreciated that there are things that are appropriate for just men and things that are appropriate for just women, and we won't intermingle those things. And we're getting away from that into our society, which is why now so many places are doing unisex bathrooms. We are dissolving those differences between men and women. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I think that our society runs best and most efficiently when we praise men for being men and women for being women. And the way that we do that is we pay attention to their differences. And so I don't think we should just willy-nilly try to combine them. And so even if in a given athletic activity, if women and men could play exactly the same, I'm not sure I would be okay with having them play together, because I don't like the idea of just saying y'all are all exactly the same.
Okay, I got to stop you for a second. So, and I kind of really want to get you to look at it from not a devil's advocate, but a different perspective. Okay, so if you take a child from ages 1 to 11, okay, and in between that, there's so many things that are going on in that child's brain before they're adulterized and they hit into puberty. 11's around when people start to transition into puberty. So for me, I think it's fulfilling. Also, kind of like a I don't want to say call to arms. That's the wrong thing to say, but like a empowering for my daughter, who is so athletic, and she has you know, certain things that are wrong with her, but she's still willing to go out there and kick butt. So every year they have a competition where they get all the schools together and the top people. And it doesn't matter whether you're a girl or a boy, you're all in the same thing. Even though they say like, in the boys division, the guys did this, and the girls division, they did this, whatever.
Okay.
My daughter keeps up with the guys, and she kicks their butt and everything. So for me, it's not empowering, but just to say like, hey, if you push yourself hard enough, you could still accomplish this. I don't care that they're a boy. So for me, I kind of am like, okay. And then I still respectfully say to her, one day that's going to change. One day when you go out and you say, I'm faster than that kid, that might transition over because the boys and girls are different. Like the boys develop one way, girls develop another way. And so I believe if you're young enough, then it should stay. You know, before we adulterize them, before we throw all these negative things into their head and start teaching about the world, I think that they should be empowered on just saying my self-worth is more than being a boy or a girl, because we are just children. Does that make sense to you? You know what I'm saying?
I get it. I'm not so sure I agree with it. Because, yeah, I think that pre-adolescence, those physical distinguishing characteristics are at a minimal. Mm-hmm. So they do compete with boys pretty well. And a lot of times women or young girls outcompete boys, mm-hmm. just because statistically girls tend to be a little bit more matured developmentally than boys. And so before they get to puberty, yeah, they can do better. But I look at other examples like the military, you know, the whole intermingling. And I think it's like all the problems that stem from that, I think, are there because it's to our shame that we try to treat men and women like they're exactly the same.
Yeah, and you think that's the same downfall that happened with the Romans and stuff like that? To where, I mean, when the genders started becoming more of a problem, it's kind of like what happened with them.
Well, I know a bit about the fall of the Roman Empire. And I know that there were a lot of social issues that kind of tracked the economic issues that kind of caused the decline. I certainly think that the old idea of like hard times produce, I think that can loosely be mapped onto the Roman Empire, because when they reached that level of world dominance, it kind of got stagnant. They culturally rotted a bit into perversion, just whatever they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, when a human is having to spend so much of their time surviving, then there's not a lot of time left for idleness, for dabbling in all kind of weird stuff, because you're just, hey man, I'm hustling. I got to get things going. I got to take care of myself. Yep. But you look at the generation of like the Generation Z and how they're the product of boomers, and boomers, they worked really hard. They built up a lot of wealth. And so you got a lot of these kids who are like Paris Hiltons, where they don't know struggle like that. So they can afford to dabble and indulge in a bunch of ideologies that are sort of counterproductive to human thriving, because when you take out the adversity, then that's the thing that tends to build our character, make us better. And so you end up with a bunch of soft people who...
So you don't see it as a part of a singularity that was going on in that time? More things were transitioning over to a different way of mediums, like different mediums. You don't think that played a big part in it, and why they acted the way that they acted? Like I'm talking about like the age of the internet. It became more predominant.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Rome. I was like,
no, not that. I understand what happened with the Romans. You know what I mean? And it was their perversities and their perversions that led them to a downfall. They just, they thought no one could mess with them because they already did.
Well, I do want to address the internet, because there's something I've been thinking about that is very counterintuitive. Most people, I would say damn near everybody, can acknowledge that the internet represents a extreme wealth of information. Whatever you want to know, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the internet. As an autist, I have hyperfocus, which means that there are just times where I have this burning compulsion to know everything there's to know about a given topic. Well, the internet's great for that. I've spent years on a hyperfocus where I'm just reading papers, watching lectures, talking to experts, because you can do that on the internet. I was studying comparative religion and the historicity of Jesus, and I got to know the leading scholars in the field. I'm a nobody. And I was just able, by being around in all these groups, you strike up friendships with them, to the point where Dorothy Murdoch, who was the religious consultant behind the movie Zeitgeist. Remember Zeitgeist?
Yes, I do.
The whole first section on solar myth savior theories. She was the source for that. We got to be friends online. She ended up passing away, rest in peace. But she ended up treating me like a bit of a confidant, telling me about her new book. Her last book was about Moses, and before she died, she was like, "I'm going to send you an advanced copy. I want you to read it and tell me what you think." And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And then her titties killed her, but
Yeah.
you know, that's amazing about the internet. But it's false to think that the internet is serving as an overall improvement on human intellect. It's actually making us stupider, which is counterintuitive. And I wasn't sure why that was the case. It took me a while to figure it out, but I
Yeah, I'm
did.
trying to figure it out.
So we as humans all seek out confirmation bias. So if there's something you want to believe and you have equal avenues of access to all sorts of evidence, you're going to gravitate to the line of evidence which is going to confirm what you want to believe. You're not going to approach it like a scientist trying to falsify what you believe. You're going to approach it like a sophist trying to affirm what you want to believe.
So it's like cherry picking the Bible on what you want to believe.
So because the internet allows you to have access to everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, your average person is going to use that to just build up a repository of rhetoric to justify what they already wanted to believe. So they're not going to show these trajectories of growth. They're going to, in fact, double down on what they want to believe, which is why you go meet some of these people who believe in like young earth creationary theory or the flat earth hypothesis or the denial of the moon landing or the denial of coronavirus, whatever you want. Dude, you would think that it would be a simple matter of like, have you considered exhibits A through fucking infinity of all this contradicting, falsifying information? None of that bothers them. Because they're not doing
because
it.
they already cherry picked.
They've already cherry picked. That's right.
They're already cherry
So
picked.
what the internet allows people to do is to go to the fullest depth of their own rabbit holes. And so it polarizes us. And so that's why it's harder and harder to have meaningful discourse with people on the other side of the aisle, because the middle has disappeared. Now they're light years apart. And before you know it, you're just calling epithets at each other because you're like, you're a wingnut, you're a Trumper, blah, 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 blah. And there's just hostility. There's no meeting of the minds. There's no coming to a broader understanding of anything. And that's all because the internet enables us to fully indulge in the confirmation bias that's in our DNA.
What do you think about the people who say like that's where conspiracy was kind of, I don't want to say the right word here. Not like it wasn't born from the internet or whatever, but it kind of like it doesn't cherry pick because they have a lot of things where people put out disinformation, misinformation, and stuff like that just to throw you off the scent of what the reality is. And then you have people like Alex Jones who go out there and they put out evidence that they're like, I got this from this source that's in bed with getting knowledge from a source that you can access from a phone. Something in their pocket.
You know,
Give me that.
back to that idea. The first instance I ever encountered was when I was a child, because I went to a very Christian school. They were fundamentalist, and the way they tried to keep the fold together was to talk about the mind of the non-believer. You know, and so we were all brainwashed to believe that if you rejected God, it was because you just hated him and wanted to seek evil. Like a very, very harsh view of a subsection of humanity. Okay.
Wow.
Well, yeah, right. So imagine my chagrin when I ended up rejecting the God hypothesis, and all those people who knew me my whole life, now I'm just a bad person because I don't believe in it. And I'm like, nothing's changed. I've always had this quest to want to know, and I just don't find the evidence compelling here. Why are you treating me like I just woke up one morning and be like, you know what I want for dinner tonight? Dead baby. I need to eat some babies because I'm an evil person. Like, that never happened, but that's how they treated me. And no one would listen to me that, hey, I actually am in good faith trying to know this stuff. I just don't believe it. Do you think it would be fair if I treated you like you were a bad person because you didn't believe in Zeus? You'd be like, no, that's just a ridiculous notion. Why would you believe in that? But yet, if I just say I don't find this compelling, then that means I'm deplorable and that I deserve damnation and you should just like wish horrible things upon my head. That told me a lot about how people operate. And so when it comes to conspiracy theories, that's that mechanism of, okay, we're of a given dogma. a worldview, an ideology. Well, we're going to tell you how to judge people who fall outside of that. So if people in the establishment, their orthodoxy is to the media what Alex Jones is to a heretic. And so it's not so much that these alternative sources are just wrong. They are heretics, and they have to be shunned as a heretic, which is why when you read what the establishment says about the Tucker Carlsons or the Jimmy Dores or the Joe Rogans or the Steven Crowders or the Tim Pools, whatever, I can go on. It's always the same thing. They are associated with the heretic crowd. So they must be judged and shunned and dismissed and not allowed to participate in public discourse. We have to gatekeep because we're priests. We're priests of the faith of the now. And anybody, and so whether you're 500 years ago looking at the Spanish Inquisition, where they did the same thing just on religious grounds, it's the same thing now. We just have a digital stake that we burn these witches at. It's called getting kicked off at Twitter, but It's not about, oh, this person's wrong. How many people who believe in the flat earth theory have been kicked off at Twitter? Nobody, because that's not the modern day heretic. That's somebody we all know is nuts. And so there's no risk, right? There's no one who's like, hey, why don't you come talk to my buddies? We'll change your world. And like, what's going on? The earth is flat, man. No one's getting seduced by that. No one's leaving the fold. No one's going to turn off CNN because like, I don't know, man, Wolf Blitzer and his round earth bullshit. No one does that. But you start talking about how the deep state plays fast and loose with the facts to keep itself in business in a war economy, doing regime change wars over and over and over again. And then you start talking about how, like, I don't think things happen in Syria the way that the media said, or I don't think this Ukraine war is on the up and up. Well, now, you're a Putin puppet. You're a Putin apologist. You're being smeared. I got called a Putin apologist. I got called a Putin apologist because I had the audacity to say that the Ukrainians showing footage of POWs giving confessions that was a war crime, because that's against the Geneva Convention. You can't exploit POWs that way. Well, we were in agreement that was bad when John McCain was captured by the Vietnamese and he was forced to give bullshit confessions. We believed the same thing back in Desert Storm, whatever, when we had some POWs. Like, we all knew you don't do that to POW, but now that Ukraine's doing it, now it's all okay. And if you say, I don't think that's a good idea, now you're a communist, now you're a Putin stooge. It's the same mechanism of orthodox heretic. It's all based on faith. It's not based on reason. So I think that when you understand it that way, it makes it really hard to believe anything that they say, because it's not about truth or reason. It's about faith and power. So it's kind of messed up. But anyway,
I agree.
Anyway.
Even delightful as it was in the middle, I can smoke this cigar every day. I don't want to, because then it's not like it's like, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like how you're like, man, I like higher end cigars now. I don't want to even appreciate the ones that are really trying hard to cleanse that palate or like make a good palate,
Mm-hmm. No, so, I hear you. I'll smoke these for like one of our poker nights. Yeah, we're having one coming up. I think first weekend in we're gonna be doing one. We had Chipotle. That was awesome. I'd like to do that again because that was really good. I did make a tactical error though with my Chipotle. You know how when you go to Chipotle, you tell them the meat, you tell them whether you want tacos or a salad or a burrito, and then they get to the middle part where they have all the different sauces. You got your roasted corn, you have your green, you got your whatever, and then you got like the super spicy one. Well, you kind of see them all in front of you. So when you order it, I typically like go heavy on the corn sauce because that one's flavorful, but then give me a schmeckle of the hot one, just for color, just for a little zip to it. Well, when it's all catered, it's all in these separate containers. I didn't really register what it was. It was just a big ass container of the hot one. And so I'm all like Jim Gaffigan in a buffet, la, 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 just dumping it on there. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Dude, I woke up the next morning. What the hell? It was like Assad was in my lower intestine, gassing my civilians. I went in the bathroom and I was just like, call a priest. This was so bad.
This is damning.
Oh my God. I was like, get into me. Get into me. Was that my little exorshit moment?
Exorshit moment.
Oh my god! Yeah, that's just for the kids at home. It's a good time. It's a good time. But my goal one of these days is to beat Angelique at poker. Man,
she is.
I don't understand it. She's just so meek and mild and devastating.
She put Andre out twice,
dude,
with authority,
with the quickness too.
Yeah, she was just like, all right, I got you.
He like made his power move all in, and she's like, I call, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
I was like, pew,
twice.
Unbelievable.
And he tried to blame it on like he was like, oh, I'm on the pain meds. Dude, that's not why. You're just really bad at
he
poker.
showed me his medication cap or whatever, and it was a warning saying, "Warning: do not go all in against Angelique." So he might have been onto something that it was the pill's fault. I don't know. I don't know. Give me your final thoughts. This is your baby, so you got to tell the world what you think.
So you are going to spend a little bit of money on this. I believe the price point now is probably a little at 30 or a little bit over. But this is definitely something you're going to want to sit down like we've been on for an hour and 17 minutes. I'm telling you, this is every bit of your hour and 13 or 17 minutes worth it. Like there's nothing you're going to not like about the cigar. And if you're looking for the whole symphony, it has it. If you want that burnt marshmallow, cocoa, hay, that kind of taste, it's got it. If you're looking for something that's literally has a easy draw, you got it. It will hit all the marks, and it's every bit of worth that amount of money.
All right, give us a rating.
Oh, dude, this is totally in the 95, 96.
95, 96.
That means that you went above and beyond. You're there. You're in the top tier.
I don't. Have you ever scored a cigar that high before? A 96?
Well, this also has. I'm going to have to say that this brings me back to memories. You're not going to get me off the memory thing either. It's like going back and playing catch with your dad when you were a kid. You know what I mean? It's like a fond memory where you're just like, I'm not going to ever give that up.
Yeah.
It's something that it excites me every time I hear. Like I'm like, I'm gonna smoke one today. I'm gonna smoke one today.
I'll never forget like when we were smoking it for that first time, and Lindsay and Abby were looking at us like,
yeah, we were
totally fangirling.
And I was like, I'm just staring at it going, oh my God. Like, are you serious? I think it was at Abby's house.
It was at Abby's house, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
It was something. Okay, so I'm gonna take my turn here. So as far as all the on paper qualifications, the ash production, the burn line, the I don't think I ever touched it up. You know, it's all top marks all the way through. I love the mouthfeel. I love how oily it is. Not every cigar that's this dark has that kind of mouthfeel. They just don't. But this one really does. It's very savory. I love how it goes from being like just chocolate to chocolate s'more. I kind of like you pick up more notes of the s'more as you go through, and it's got like even though I've been retrohaling it consistently throughout, even though I'm at the end now, I still don't have like a clogged palate. My nose is still doing really, really well. It's still it's not aggressive in the nose and the sinuses when you blow it out. It's all magical. I don't think that it does the best job of hitting highs and lows. It's got just a super intensity of those same flavor notes that go through. So I wouldn't give it the highest marks. You know, I wouldn't put it up there with a Dominicana or a Royal or the Padron Family Reserve, because I think those they're able to put on a bigger show than this. But I would feel comfortable scoring this in the 93, 94 range.
Okay,
that's where I would put it.
So we're basically, I'm a little bit higher than you, but I mean, I hold on to more memories about it than you would, you know what I mean? But I'm still saying it's crushing it. So I think we're in the same range.
Oh, for sure.
93, 94, 95, 96.
So if you guys get the opportunity to smoke these, I highly recommend doing it. Let us know in the comments what you think, because I love turning people on to new flavors, new experiences. My buddy Chase out in California, he got deployed to Kuwait for some military stuff.
Deployed to Kuwait.
He gets into Kuwait, yeah.
I love when people say they get deployed to Kuwait. Kuwait is like going to an R&R. Let me tell you what they have there. So when someone tells you they're going to Kuwait, they're not doing anything real. Bro, it literally like one of the princes like where you stay, it's one of the palaces. There's there's pool tables the size of houses where they play on those things. Like you got everything you can go in. It's like literally going to a sheik's house.
Over there. I just said he was going to Kuwait, and he's bringing cigars, and so he asked me for some recommendations. And
Yeah, and then they have that too.
he's all about God of Fire. He loves it, and he's now going to go educate himself on the different Davidoffs. So I kind of gave him some recommendations. He's going to go check those out. So very excited to see what he scores over there. Another interesting thing that happened recently, our friend Chris went to Mexico, and he went to a La Casa del Habano shop and picked me up some Partagas Maduros. Very excited about that. But if you do score some of those, let them rest 3 to 5 months minimum.
Real quick. How much does it actually cost, or how many can you bring back?
Well, for Cubes, he had to take the bands off because
But you can put them back on later.
well, sure. He had to put them back on once he got to the States. But as far as going through customs, they will not let you bring cigars with Cuban bands on. So you just take the bands off, put those in a separate bag. You bring your stuff in. So he ended up getting quite a bit of stuff, some different Cohibas, a bunch of Partagas, Monte Cristos, but the bands are kind of wonky now. They're not where they're supposed to be, but I don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
I know why they're screwed up. So whatever. But that's our show.
Show it off. The box.
Oh,
One more
Oh.
time.
Yeah.
that is our box of God of Fire. Look how beautiful it is. I would wear this print on a shirt. I think that the Prometheus print is just so good looking. It's so attractive. But share the video, drop a comment, and we'll have something planned next week. Hopefully, we'll let you know. Hopefully, our guest won't bail on us. That's been like 2 shows in a row. Our guest bailed.
Guest bail.
That's show business, man. I don't know.
But we got this gorgeous location.
But we got this good location. Big shout out to the Mosses for lending us their property so we can film out here, and appreciate the hospitality. And that's John. I'm Alex. Until next time, keep it smoky, everybody.
Always.
Do 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 do.
Hey, dude, can I give you guys just